You are welcome. I am Raven Hunter, and in this video we will dive into the Xmen Hellfire Gala comic from 2023. Without further explanations, let's begin with the essential part. Now, this story is starting us off a couple weeks before the gala, where we meet Emma Frost and Cyclops currently having a discussion about Miss Marvel. It was recently discovered that she was a mutant. Cerebro revealed that she had an Xgen in her body. As they discuss the future of Miss Marvel, we pick up in a present day with her resurrection, with Miss Marvel just recently dying. The funeral was had, but with Cerebro uncovering that she is in fact a mutant, resurrection was the obvious choice, with Charles Xavier being the one to orchestrate it. The Five is doing their best to explain to her how the process works, how she won't remember her death, and everything in between. While this discussion is ongoing, we see the arrival of Scott and Emma. They reveal that they want to invite Miss Marvel to Hellfire Gala and dare to introduce her to the world as a mutant. They are hoping that this is going to help with public relations, but with Miss Marvel being a little bit uncomfortable with this situation, she is not really sure if she wants to come out as a mutant just yet. Then, Jumbo arrives. He pulls out his tape and he starts preparing to get Miss Marvel her gown for the Hellfire Gala. This is what takes us over the lighthouse to the Hellfire Gala of 2023. The main event of the night is expected to be the election of the new X-Men team, and it is set tonight Forge is going to reveal some technology, his latest gift, something that will help solve the housing shortage and food insecurities that plague the most. He has the ambition to create the city of tomorrow. Jean and Scott are listening to the whole speech, but this is when they get interrupted. The alarms are going off at the treehouse. Jean wants to go with Cyclops, but he responds, "I've got it. If I am not back before the vote, give everyone our news." Then we have the arrival of Juggernaut, wanting to thank everybody personally for everything that they've done, and Jane lets him know that they are choosing a new X-Men team. She tells him that he has been on the path to redemption for quite some time, and they're gonna need a new powerhouse. Who better to fill that spot than Kane? After this, we are led to a conversation between Charles and Miss Marvel. Charles looks at her and says,
"I don't need to be a telepath to see that you are uncomfortable, Miss Marvel."
she is struggling a little bit. This whole situation makes her a little uncomfortable, and it's not that she's ungrateful, there's just so much going on already inside her life. She is a little concerned on how this is going to affect her life. This is the part where Charles goes on to explain that her ex-gen never got the chance to fully kick in, that the mist hit her, making her inhuman before it could manifest, and we know what that mist can do to mutant gens. It is possible that she never manifests any powers at all, but with that conversation coming to a close, we have Rasputin 4 and Miss Marvel having a conversation, and Rasputin 4 is saying that Miss Marvel is her hero. She knows the stories of Miss Marvel, the Inhuman, the Muslim, the Mutant, the Human, and the Savior of all the tribes. It appears that Miss Marvel has one heck of a future to set for her. As the night goes on, we see a conversation between Sam, Prodigy, and Captain America. Recently, we have seen that Kingpin has made his way to Krakoa, granted asylum through marriage, and while Sam's not happy about this, there is an incident that takes place. The Avengers waste no time, and they head out, but while they all go to make their escape, this is where Rogue gets an emergency frequency, an urgent message that Captain America is in a need of help, and he has activated his distress beacon. Then we see Rogue taking off through a gateway. With all of the commutation going on, this is where Jean Grey telepathically talks to everybody at the gala, and tells them that it is time for the new X-Men team to be voted. Jean and Scott step down from their roles as captains and give them to Sink and Tawan, and so everybody votes. And after some discussions, we get the introduction of our new X-Men team. The new X-Men team is made up of Tawan, Sink, Prodigy, Frenzy, Cannonball, Jubilee, Drazzler, and the Juggernaut. Unfortunately, this is the moment where everything changes because of Nimrod. Avoiding detection by orbiting the Earth and descending from the thermosphere at thermal velocity, he was able to break through. Completely undetected, he came down from there like a rot of gold. Jean Grey absorbs the blast, saving everybody's life. Using her telekinesis, she is able to grab hold of some of the force. She is able to blunt the shockwave, but it is not enough. The nanotechnology has made its way into her body, and it has inhibited her Xgen. There is no escape from this ambush. That's when the one and only Xmen comes and starts beating the out of Nimrod, telling him, if you are programmed to kill mutants, then you are programmed to die. And for a brief of a second, it looks like Bobby might actually have the upper hand. But Nimrod came prepared. A red glowing rod jumped right into the body's chest. After Nimrod says some words to Bobby, we see Bobby melting into a puddle of water, nothing left over, simply bones and water. With Omega 2 off the board, Nimrod goes for Omega 1. With Jean Grey showing up, we see Juggernaut, and before we can see how Jean charges him in Nimrod's direction, Jean Grey attracts Nimrod's attention. When Jean unloads Juggernaut over Nimrod, Juggernaut starts beating him and says,
"Alright, you damn dirty machine. I'm gonna try taking you to the woodshed."
While Juggernaut beats Nimrod, Jean Grey begins coordinating the defense of the Earth, but she didn't have long. The rest of Orki's force were inbound. Previously, just a Stark Sentinel had nearly succeeded to kill the Xmen, and now they face them all. This is where we have the arrival of Karima and Dr. Stasis. They stroll in the gateway, dancing their way right into the gala. But then, Charles interrupts them and says,
You are going to pay, you wretched madman.
but Dr. Stasis really wants him to see what he has accomplished, telling him to go ahead and peep into his mind. This is where Charles gets to see that the medicine that has been tampered with the pharmaceuticals had all had a kill switch backdoor this whole time. With MODOK showing up through the gateway, he presses a button and all the humans that are on a crack 1 medicine begin to freak out. And if that wasn't enough, Orcas didn't just hack crack 1 medicine, but thanks to horticulture they were able to break the gateways. Every second the noose tightened around the mutants, but they put up hell of a fight. With the help of Fisk, Kitty Pryde phases right through the head of a sentinel, making it crash down to the ground. Kingpin tries to go for Mary, but with him getting beat down, tells them, "You will pay for this!" For a moment, it looked like the mutants might manage to turn this around. With Rasputin 4 protecting Miss Marvel, we see her taking on one of the Stark Sentinels all by herself. With her smashing that thing into the ground, we come to Juggernaut, trying to go face to face with Nimrod. When Nimrod blasts him, we see him shot back. This is when Jean Grey stops everything. She spoke to the minds of everybody. She gave an oath that nobody would die more tonight, apologizing to the guests and letting everyone know that this is all a bad incident. She is asking Corky's power to go away and they might survive to sit down. While it looks like this was the end, Moira, that is immune to Jean's telepathic powers, sneaks behind Jean Grey and pierces her right through the chest. At this moment, Cyclops is trying to reach her and talk to her.
"Jean, I'm sorry. The treehouse, it was a trap. I'm not going to be able to join you. My legs, I can't feel them. Jean, why can't I feel you? Jean!"
At this moment, Moira is ultimately losing it like a psychopath, telling Charles to look at her, to look what she have done, to look what has happened to the one thing that he loved the most. The dagger quoted in Blight's will, and the sight of Jean Grey struck down. This decimates a bomb in the children of Atom. Every mutant launches themselves into war. Victory will be theirs, but this is where Moira puts a knife up to Charles' throat. She tells him to stop them or every human that has taken the medicine will feel MODOK's fury, and so Charles says,
Stop!
He takes off his helmet, drops to his knees and continues.
I surrender.
Terms of the surrender are these. As Dr. Stasis tells him that all Krakowans, all mutants have reached the time for them to live. That this is cancer surgery, and the mutant kind is the cancer. Dr. Stasis telling him to make them walk. Every single one of them walks through the gateways, and if a mutant ever decides that they are going to return, they will kill as many humans as it takes for them to understand that mutants are no longer welcome. While this is all ongoing, we have Jean Grey, who has communications with Firestar letting her know that she is dying and Orcus has won. Right now, they need to think about the bigger play. What Jean wants to do is embed Firestar into the memory of Orcus to open a door into his mind, simply erasing his mind altogether. But she came to recruit Firestar to be their inside man, telling her that all hope right now is lost, and everyone will certainly believe that Firestar is a traitor, but right now it may be one of their only options to stay afloat. Firestar agrees. After this, we see Moira telling Charles that she will see him in hell, if it's a real place, while Charles turns to the mutants and tells them,
Go, my Xmen!
Then, across the world, mutants are receiving orders by Charles to leave through the nearest Krakoan gateway. There are a select few that have the red triangle defense strategy. One of them is Nightcrawler, who hears Charles whispering.
Resist.
As this happens, we pick up with Mother Righteous as she walks through a gateway. It is not certain where she lands, but not a single soul alive knew that she had stolen away and trapped Kirk Owens' Atlantic Island in her lantern. The mass migration continues. Some are going kicking and screaming. Some mutants fight back, but every single one of them is going. The migration concludes while we see Charles Xavier standing upon Jean Grey's corpse, talking to Firestar.
This is the price we pay. I wanted to bring the others, but I'm out of time. Make no mistake, the survivors will find you. Mutants have always been hated and feared. Now mutants will hate and fear you. When they come for you, tell the truth and never waver. Goodbye, Firestar. Be brave.
After this, we pick up in an ambulance to see the farewell between Jean and Scott. She tells him she loves him, and he responds with a lot of suffer. He says,
Jean, don't go.
Then she goes to whisper to Logan, telling him to wake up, that they almost lost everything tonight, but the fight is not over yet. She tells Logan that she loved him as well, and now she needs Wolverine to do what he does best for her. As Jean's life has faded away, the Berserk awoke. Logan was surrounded by the best special forces, but that doesn't bother him. With Exodus taking the fight by force, pushing them through a gateway, and Dr. Stacy's killing Raven while she is not happy with Charles giving her orders, Dr. Stacy's, MODOK and Moira sit and enjoy their victory, but they still find themselves surrounded by a lot of mutants. All of them whispering, resist. Moira goes to finish them off, and that is when Emma Frost gives the order telling everybody to wake up, to grab Wardes and prepare to teleport, with knives being thrown, heads being cracked, and guns being shot. Emma Frost, Bishop, Angel, Sidewall, Kitty Pryde. They are all teleported out of here. They appear in the basement of the New York City's Hellfire Club. With them is also Wilson Fisk. Emma Frost sees that Wardes took some heavy damage, revealing gunshot wounds all over her chest. She saved all of them, but that cost her life. Then we come to Nimrod dragging the body of Juggernaut. Nimrod asks Dr. Stasis, MODOK and Moira, why is Firestar here? And in response, Dr. Stasis goes on to say that she has been a double agent the entire time, and now that she is going full-time with Orcus. As Emma Frost and everyone else make their way through the Hellfire Club, Emma informs them that she had tunnels here leading around the world. As she plans to walk through the gateway, her face smashes into it. All of the gateways are closed and they realize that they cannot use them for anything. This is where we pick up with Charles and Moira. With Moira going on and saying that she has been dreaming about this day, that everything that has happened is his fault, tonight will forever be known as the Mutant Massacre. That the dream is dead, and humanity will cheer as they hunt, capture, and kill every single mutant. But this is where Charles says,
I'm ready.
As Moira mocks him for being brave, he responds,
Oh, I wasn't talking to you. I was just thinking out loud.
At this moment, we see Rogue coming exploding out of the ground and ripping Moira to pieces. We have Rogue grabbing hold of Charles and getting out of here, but not without threatening Moira with Firestar. As they take off and try to get out of here as quickly as possible, Rogue informs him that they are going to Steve Rogers, that they are forming a team. Charles interrupts her and begs to be taken back to the island. Everyone who walked through the gateway, they were all meant to go to Araco, but he can no longer reach them, not a single one of them. He says,
They're all gone. All of them. They're all dead.
Rogue is in disbelief. There were 250,000 mutants on Krakoa, that there's no way they can all be dead. In an anger, and in sadness tears coming through his face, Charles says,
But they are. I made everyone walk through the gates, at the party and across the planet. Stasis told me I had to, but I didn't know. I didn't know. They did something to the gates. I pushed them into a meat grinder. They are all dead. All dead. And I killed them. Now leave me and go avenge them.
He concludes his speech with the words,
Avenge Krakoa.
As we see Rogue leaving him, Charles tremble in the waves and weep, for all he had built is now in ruins. He realizes that everything must end one day, and the fall of the House of X had begun. And this is how the story of Hellfire Gala 2023 concludes. Thank you for listening to the end, and if you want me to continue making these videos, you can like and subscribe to let me know.